The bus stopped in front of Tabitha and the doors opened. "Excuse me," Tabitha began, "but you go down Chatham Street, don't you?" "You bet," answered the driver, a smiley, tall man with white hair. Tabitha then remembered she didn't have her bus pass or any money for bus fare at all. She hoped the driver would still give her a ride. She clasped her hands together, almost like she was praying, and braced herself for disappointment. "Now, I do have a bus pass, but it's not with me right now. I went for a walk and got lost, and I have to get back home. Is that okay?" The driver rubbed his chin, squinted his eyes, and stared at Tabitha for a moment. "Well, I don't know," he said with a twinkle in his eye. "They don't like me letting people on the bus when they haven't paid." "Oh, okay, I understand." Tabitha thought the driver meant what he had said, and she could feel tears coming, but she managed to hold them back. She turned and was about to step off the bus when the driver tapped her on the shoulder. "But in this case, I'm willing to make an exception." And when Tabitha turned around, he gave her a big smile. She was so glad he was just joking, because she really didn't want to have to go into a stranger's house. She took a seat and kept her eye on the street so she would know where to get off. Relieved to see her familiar oak tree and swing set in the yard, Tabitha flew off the bus and dashed into the house, hoping no one would see her. But as she started up the steps to her room, her sister Caitlin came out of the kitchen with a piece of licorice sticking out of her mouth and screamed, "Tabby, you're back!" Caitlin skipped over to Tabitha to give her a hug, but Tabitha put a finger to her lips. "Shh, don't let Mommy and Daddy know I'm here. I just have to get something from my room, and then I'm leaving again for a while." Tabitha and Caitlin's mother came out of the kitchen holding a cup of coffee. The cup shook a little when she saw her daughter, but she didn't want to let on that she had been worried. "Ah, you're back," she said calmly. "Did you have a nice walk?" "Can't talk about it now," replied Tabitha as she ran up the stairs. "I have to get something from my room and go back." "Go back where? It's going to be dark soon." "Mom, I can't take the time to explain. The Grenigots will kidnap me if I'm not back in their village soon." Tabitha opened her drawer to the little table by her bed and took out the recorder and an extra set of batteries. "Grenigots? Kidnapping?" her mother asked, following her into the room. "What are you talking about?" Tabitha started back down the stairs with her mother close behind. "Not now, Mom. Please, I have to go." "Well, I should come with you. I don't want you out there alone in the dark." Tabitha's mother started to put on her shoes. Tabitha looked down at her mother's feet, which were a surprisingly large size 11, considering she was rather petite, and shook her head. "No, you can't. Your feet are too big. You could wipe out an entire family with one step." And with that, Tabitha shot out the door. Her mother stood in the doorway, trying not to cry, though her chin did quiver a little. She was very sensitive about the size of her feet and didn't like the idea that they should cause harm to someone, let alone an entire family of someone's, whoever they were. Then it occurred to her that Tabitha must just be joking. She was probably over at her friend Nadia's house playing a game where they were creating an imaginary world full of fun and adventure. What imaginations these children have, she thought, and laughed to herself. The light was beginning to fade as Tabitha rushed through the woods, and the trees were casting eerie shadows on the ground. She was afraid to think of how dark it would be on the journey home, but she hadn't had time to find a flashlight to guide her way. When she finally arrived back at the clearing, the whole village of Grenotia was waiting there for her. "Well, it's about time," Mardicus hissed, his hands on his hips. "What took you so long?" "I'm sorry, everyone. I got lost on my way back to the house. Then my mother saw me going up the stairs to my room and tried to stop me from leaving, but I got the voice recorder." She held up the recorder in her hand. The villagers marveled at the sight and wondered how it worked. "Is your singing on it?" asked Bornadin. "Not yet," replied Tabitha, "but I'll do it right now." She hit the record button and sang Happy Birthday 3 times into the recorder because it was a rather short song. The villagers commented favorably as she continued. "Oh, she has a lovely voice. I wish I could sing like that. It truly is magical, isn't it?" Tabitha was very pleased. When she was done, Tabitha brought the recorder down to Mardicus and started to explain what they had to do. "Now see, you press this button here to rewind to the beginning." She pointed out the reverse arrow. Mardicus had to press hard with his whole body to push the button in. The machine whirled and then stopped with a click, which scared some of the villagers a little. "Then you press the play button here with the big triangle to make it start." Mardicus pressed the button, and the villagers oohed and awed. As Happy Birthday played, they would look at the recorder, then at Tabitha, then back at the recorder, amazed that they were hearing Tabitha's voice when her mouth was closed. "Gosh and golly, this is wonderful!" Ornodin exclaimed, slapping his leg with his hand. "You have saved us!" The villagers cheered. Tabitha clasped her hands together. "Oh, I'm so happy I could help." She looked into the forest and remembered the long walk home. "But now I have to go back. My mother will be worried."
"Thank you so much for all you have done for us."
Mardicus stretched out his hand and Tabitha bent down to shake it.
"You know, I never did get your name."
Tabitha smiled a big smile. She was flattered that Mardicus was now asking her name, when he didn't care who she was before. "It's Tabitha," she answered.
"Well, thank you, Miss Tabitha. We right appreciate it."
"My pleasure." Evening was descending on the forest, and the blue twilight taking over the clearing told Tabitha it was time to go. "Well, I should get home before it gets completely dark," she said. "It has been delightful meeting you all, and I wish you the best of luck with the nados. And have fun at the Frankernick Festival." She looked down at Kishinai. "I'm sure you'll be great in the play." Tabitha waved at the villagers as she vanished into the trees, and they waved back and blew her kisses of gratitude. As she walked through the woods, Tabitha was beside herself with wonder. She had no idea that her voice had any worth at all, let alone that it could save an entire village. Did that mean she should start singing again? Were there other villages she could save from the nados? Did she have any other powers she didn't know about? By the time Tabitha reached the edge of the wood, big dark clouds were taking over the sky. The wind, which was barely noticeable before, was becoming quite strong, blowing the skirt of her green dress in all directions. It certainly looked like a storm was approaching.